Hello my little learners, you can call me Lovegood, and I hope you enjoy this video. Here are just a few things before we get started. Today I'm presenting you with Chapter 21 of Ghostly Bonds, titled I Love You So, by The Walters, by KittyKqt on AO3. But that's enough of my rambles and jabbles, and let's get right into the fic. This is the summary. Summary: Izuku's last day. And author's notes. Warning: lots of emotions. He went to his mom first. He wanted to protect her, to keep it from her, but he had done so much already, and she deserved his honesty. "What should I tell Mom, Mimi?" Izuku asked, rocking the crib gently. His sister was still fast asleep due to his rocking, but she was so beautiful. Her black hair was getting so long already at 2 months old, contrasting against her pale skin and his mom's freckles. He hoped they wouldn't fade from her, as they had his mom. "Tell me what, Zuku?" his mom asked, cracking the door open slightly. She cradled a cup of tea in her hands, blinking the sleep from her eyes. Izuku's fist tightened as he focused on keeping the crib moving. "I'm sorry, Mama," he finally said, as she sat beside him on the guest bed. Unlike him, however, she interacted with the bed. It shifted under her weight. She shook her head, looking down at Mimi, her brows furrowed. "Sorry for what? You have nothing to be sorry for, baby." Izuku's hand shook as he held it against his throat. "I keep leaving you and coming back. I get your hopes up just to leave again. I don't mean to." "Hey." His mum set her mug down on a side table, resting her hand on the crib. She can't see how close it is to Izuku's own as he stops rocking. "It's okay. You're a hero now. I'm happy to support you when I can. I miss you, yes, but you're growing up. And you're here now." Izuku shook his head, even though she couldn't see it, taking his hand off the crib to place it in his lap. "I have to go again, Mama." He whispered it quietly, his voice shaking. She paused in her own rocking, sighing. "Do they want you for another mission?" Izuku's breath was shaky, and his mom looked up at him. "What's wrong, baby?" "I won't be coming back this time." He spoke slowly, trying to hold it steady as he spoke. "I've done what I needed to do. My form can't last much longer without a purpose." "Oh." Her voice was soft as she looked down at her hands, the crib lying still. "Are you happy?" Izuku choked back a sob, rubbing his face on his shoulder as he nodded. "So much. You have a family now. Someone you can count on always in Sakuchi. The League members are all safe and working to a better life. Eri's under Raysad's care, and she smiled, Mom. She actually smiled. He paused, clearing his throat. "I'm not needed anymore." "But you are," she argued, her voice rising an octave. "You're my Izuku. You will always be needed to me. What if I'm not ready to say goodbye? I can't say goodbye." Mimi started to fuss, and Izuku took back control of rocking her crib, swallowing down his tears. "Mom, I was selfish when I first stepped off the roof. I wanted more than anything to hug you and tell you I loved you. I got a chance to do that. I had so many more chances to watch you grow and find love. I could never have hoped for a better mother." Mimi had started to cry. The door cracked open to reveal Sakuchi standing there, a confused look on his face. "Am I interrupting something?" "No," Izuku said, Sakuchi's brows furrowing as he detected the lie. "Please, come in," Izuku said quietly, and he did, sitting beside Mom and pulling her into his shoulder, looking at where Izuku was as he finally rocked Mimi back to sleep. "I'm leaving, Sakuchi. My form can't take the strain, and I don't have long." "Oh," he said quietly, holding Mom tighter as she sobbed into him. "What can I do?" he asked, his voice wavering slightly. "Hold them tight," Izuku said, his vision blurring. "Don't let them get too far from you." He paused, looking down at Mimi in the crib, as she slowly opened her eyes, cooing. "Tell her how much her big brother loves her." He nodded, kissing his mom's head before picking up Mimi as she reached for him. "She already knows, Izuku." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Mom, I have to go." He touched her slightly and she stiffened, before nodding and pushing herself off of Tsukuchi. You promised me one thing, my boy. Izuku nodded, his hand still shaking. Anything, Mama. When we meet again, you will let me hug you, and you won't pull away ever again. Her voice was stern through her tears, her chest heaving. I promise, Mama, he said, choking. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. Goodbye, Izuku. I'll see you again. He nodded, pulling up the bonds as Tsukuchi pulled his mum close again, mouthing a goodbye. I love you, he said to the trio, blinking. I love you most. His mum's voice faded as he ripped the bond towards him, his stomach flipping. He couldn't face her ever again, couldn't watch from afar. He wouldn't do that to her in the unknown time he had left. He was just glad he could finally say goodbye. He blinked a few times at the change in position, staring at Nezu's office. Present Mike sat with the race ahead and a person Izuku hadn't seen before, just staring at each other and Nezu. Izuku was trespassing and went to flee before Nezu clapped his hands together. Ghost! Thank you for joining us. Crap. Izuku froze, turning to Nezu and slowly moving over to him. Hi, he said with uncertainty, his voice shaking against his will. He immediately pulled his hand back, wiping at his eyes as he stared at the new person. Something about the way that quirk moved was so familiar to him, shifting through the air. Kurogiri, Izuku said, pressing his hand to his throat. The man nodded slowly, clearing his throat. Yes, that is me. It was, he clarified quickly. Your ghost? The one who helped me? He reached his hand forward and Izuku frowned. As far as he was aware, Kurogiri was still in lab confinement until they found a way to break his compulsion, which meant... What do you remember? Izuku asked, floating towards him quickly, moving around him slowly. His mist was firmer, more cloud-like as it shifted between pastel blue at the roots going into white. This was the boy Izuku had seen in Eraserhead's photo at the funeral. Loud Cloud, he remembered, putting his hand on his throat at the last moment so he could hear it. Don't touch him, Nezu said, right as Izuku reached for him. His quirk is still unstable. It's, he stuttered, shaking his head. Been a while since I've heard that name. Please, just call me Shirakumo, or Shiro, if you would prefer. Izuku nodded, his hands fidgeting as his mind raced through questions to ask, about his time in the League and his quirk, though the elements had shifted. He put his hand to his throat to speak, but the words got choked up and he pulled his hand back frowning. He forgot he had been crying just before. Are you okay, Izuku? Present Mike asked, looking over, his brows furrowing. Izuku wished he had some way to communicate with Nezu without saying anything. His throat was too tight and there were too many faces here. I'm sorry, but we will have to move this meeting for another time, Nezu said with a sigh as Izuku passed a hand through him. Nezu, Eraserhead said sharply. We need to talk. Nezu raised a hand in dismissal, adjusting his tea as he set it down on the table. We will get to the issue of Shirakumo in a minute. For now, he can shadow you as you tend to your classes today. Eraserhead huffed, but stood up, the other two following him out. Thank you again for saving me, Shirakumo said, bowing slightly as he followed the heroes out of the room. As the door shut, Izuku relaxed slightly, rubbing at his eyes. What has you so upset, my dear student? Nezu asked, picking back up his tea as he turned to face Izuku. Izuku wiped at his eyes, cursing his luck. Tears did nothing to help with anything. And Nezu understood that better than anyone. Human emotion was a waste of valuable time. I'm fading, he finally managed to say, biting his lip. Nezu sighed, his eyes falling slightly as he set the tea back down, crossing his paws. I feared it would come to this. Do we know why this is? He asked, always getting down to the core facts. Izuku put his shaking hand to his throat, shaking his head. I don't have the facts. His voice cracked and he pulled his hand away before he could be shown as too weak. That's not why Nezu had taken him in as a student. Theories? Nezu asked, tapping his paws together. Izuku struggled, pushing his hand into his throat to stop the shaking of his voice. It's not my quirk. He spoke slowly, each word drawn out as he tried to take in deep breaths. Izuku, Nezu said, stopping him as he tried to keep talking. I am not human, but I do understand emotions. Take all the time you need, child. I'm not leaving my star pupil any time soon. Izuku pulled his hand away from his throat, taking a shaky breath as he wiped his eyes repeatedly. I'm sorry, he mumbled, though he didn't say it so Nezu could hear. All he wanted right now was to lean into his mum, to feel her warmth and the sweet smell of her tea, to hear her say everything would be all right as the smell of Katadon swept into the room. But he could never have that again, and he was happy. He was happy he could finally have his mum move on after what he chose to do. He had been able to help her and give her the closure she had needed, and it was wrong of him to be happy that he couldn't see his mum again, couldn't watch his little sister grow up and help her like he had needed. They would have a better life than what he had. He had and would make sure of that. I don't have a purpose anymore, Izuku finally said, when he felt well enough to speak. He wiped the last of his tears away as he took in a deep breath, nodding. There will always be more people for me to save, but my family's protected. Those I care about are safe. I even managed to save Eri and the League. Nezu sighed, grabbing his tea. I will miss you, my boy. You have been a great asset. I'm glad you are finally finding your own peace. Izuku nodded, pulling his legs up to his chest. Can you do something for me? Anything in my power, within reason, of course, he added quickly. Izuku laughed, sighing. Help the students with their quirks. You hide away in your office and don't help much. You are brilliant, but you don't allow yourself to meddle in others' affairs. Use my notebooks to strengthen their quirks. Nezu nodded solemnly, sipping his tea. You've finished 12 of them recently? 13, Izuku corrected. I hope to finish the ones on the current first years, but I don't think I'll reach all the way to the management course before I go. Izuku shook his head, pulling at his cuticles. The League has their own entries, and I would like you to give them to them, even if they don't plan on staying in the hero industry like Magne. She is getting her license for her own orphanage, I hear, Nezu said, nodding in agreement. I can do that for you, for my students. And Eri, Izuku added quickly. She's still scared to use her quirk, but it will be a useful tool for any task. Page 35 in Book 10 is the start of her entry. Izuku, Nezu cut in before he could start rambling. I will do what you ask. Is this where we part ways? Izuku shook his head, sighing. I'm not sure how much time I have. I can feel Present Mike's quirk fading in strength even now. I would like to meet with some of the heroes, and Eri, and the League, once more. Nezu nodded, clapping his hands. Of course, I can schedule that all. When would you like it? Today, Izuku said sternly. If I am to fade, I would like to finish my business. His voice choked slightly as he shook his head. He knew to come to terms with it. Why don't we just work on strengthening your quirk? Toshinori offered, intertwining his fingers. Izuku sighed, shaking his head. I already tried to explain it. If it was a simple matter of that, when I gave my energy, I should be stronger when I returned. However, I am weaker, not because of my energy usage, but because each time I have, I've fulfilled part of my final purpose. Eraserhead rubbed his knuckles, shaking his head. Have you spoken to your mother yet? Yes, he said quickly. I've said my goodbyes to her. I hope you will watch over her in my absence and help the three of them when it is needed. Of course, Midnight chimed in, nodding. I will miss you messing with my makeups. I've gotten used to your organization shifting. Black King scoffed, leaning back in his chair. Kid, I never really knew you, but I gotta say, your analysis of my students' quirks was, and still is, something special. I'm glad you have found peace. Mr. Compress shifted in his seat, rubbing at his eyes. Even though he hadn't been here as long as the other teachers, he looked at place, despite his garnish attire. He had found people who would care for him as he needed. Have you spoken to my old trope about it? No, Izuku admitted. They were my next ones to speak to. He nodded, looking up. Thank you, Izuku. You have helped train me in ways I did not know I needed. I still have a ways to go until the season finale, but I need you to know you have done so much. Izuku nodded, biting his cheek. I'm glad you have found friends. I hope you get the show you've wanted. What do we tell the kids? President Mike asked, pulling his hair onto his shoulder. They think of you as a teacher and friend. I can't be the one to tell them. He stuttered, shaking his head as the teachers looked at him in pity. It's too much. Just tell them I have found peace. I have already spoken to Nezu about my remaining notebooks. There are entries to help each one of you out as well. Recovery girl shaking her head. Always thinking of others, dearie. You are a fine hero. Izuku wiped his eyes as the tears came again, shaking his head. How had he gotten so lucky? As the heroes bid him adieu, Izuku wiped at his eyes again, saying his own goodbyes. They would do well here, train the next batch of heroes. He was sad he wouldn't be able to see them, but he knew that it would be amazing. Izuku, Eraserhead said, shutting the door behind the last of the other teachers slowly. Is this on me? Izuku turned to look at him, biting his cheek. What do you mean? Of course it's not. Eraserhead leaned his head against the door, frowning. If I had been fast that night, not gotten caught up with other things, I could have caught you that night. I already told you, Izuku said, tucking his legs up. It's not on you. Stop, Eraserhead said harshly. Let me finish. Izuku nodded, pulling his hands from his throat. Back after the USJ, used up your energy saving me. If I had been stronger, I shouldn't have needed that. Maybe you wouldn't be fading now. You wouldn't be saying your final goodbyes. Izuku scoffed to himself, waiting a few moments for Eraserhead to take a deep breath. I don't regret it, he responded honestly. Any of it, killing myself or saving you. Would you wish I didn't save my mom? Or Sanaitai? Eraserhead shook his head and Izuku smiled. Good. I regret bringing pain to my mother, but if I hadn't, so much would have changed. For better or worse, I was able to help. To do what I always wanted and save people like I once wanted to be. He still didn't say anything, so Izuku continued. If you had saved me that night, I would have tried again and again until I succeeded. If any other hero had found me that night, I don't know where we would be. You saved me, even if you don't think you did. Izuku hadn't noticed it at first, but the silence had been replaced by a gentle sound of crying. I'm sorry to make you cry, Izuku said, shaking his head. No, Eraserhead hummed. It is on me. I saw what happened to you as a replacement for Oboro, or Kurogiri as you know him. I should have been faster then. I should have been able to protect him and the children. Should have searched harder for him in the aftermath. Has he told you it's your fault? Izuku asked quietly. Eraserhead paused, shaking his head. No, he didn't have to. He doesn't think that, Izuku said confidently. That it's your fault. Saving others is the role of a hero. He would do it over again to save those kids. Life happens, and we can't change it much. Eraserhead scoffed, groaning. Why the hell do you sound so damn smart? You're a child. Izuku laughed. Children see more than adults. You'll find that out with Eri. He paused, and Eraserhead sighed, shaking his head. I would like to speak to her, if you will let me. Of course, Izuku, he said with a smile. She loves you. You are her hero. The conversation with Kachan went how Izuku thought. He was angry, upset that Izuku would choose something like this over fighting till the last moment. He didn't understand what Izuku did. Why he didn't seek to fight the fact he was leaving with more anger. Kirishima had been there to calm him down where Izuku couldn't, trying to get him to understand. Izuku hadn't been able to make him understand, but he had made a promise. Promise to be a better person and look after those weaker than him, not down on them, but lift them up, out of the water in a way no one else would. He had actually agreed to take Izuku's quirk analysis into consideration as well, to beat more villains as he had put it, but it was a start. He could only imagine the end. Don't go, Zuku, Eri said, holding her stuffed animal tightly. I don't want to say goodbye. Izuku moved his doll around, biting his lip as he fought to keep it under control. He wouldn't let Eri see him weak. Not as he was growing weaker with every goodbye. Some goodbyes are good. Not everyone gets to say goodbye. Eri huffed, her brows furrowing. I don't wanna. I can help you. You say it yourself. My quirk is strong. Izuku shook his head, knowing where she was going. No, Eri. Even if your quirk was strong enough, I don't want you to use it. I want you to keep strengthening it. She set her doll down, messing with her dress. Eri, I died years ago, and I get the chance to say goodbye now. Eri shook her head, wiping at her eyes. Don't leave me. You promised you'd save me. Izuku longed to hug her, to hold her tight, protected from the world that would be against her. And you have a chance to save yourself now. Eraserhead will help you, and the other heroes at UA. You can do whatever you want, including saving yourself. Eri shook her head, running across the room to bury her face in Eraserhead's leg. I don't wanna. I'm sorry, Eri, he said softly. Just know that I am so proud of you. He looked to Eraserhead, who picked her up and held her tightly. Take care of her. Eraserhead nodded and Izuku left. The old league sat together, leaning on each other. It had been a while since they had all gotten together, and Izuku could tell in the way they put support into each other. The only one who looked out of place was Shiro, who sat by himself to the side. Izuku had insisted he join, just to see them all again. Even Shigaraki had been brought into the secure facility, clutching his video game console like Eri had clutched her doll. So, you're really dying? Magne asked, sighing loudly. I am, Izuku said quietly. Not dying, simply fading. I am already dead. Himiko huffed, shutting her eyes as she shook her head. It's not fair. We did everything we were told, did what you said. Why do you have to leave? Izuku shook his head. I've done all I wanted. I found peace, Himiko. Magne ran her fingers through Himiko's hair as she hummed quietly. I don't want you to leave. I won't let you leave, Jin said, twisting his fingers together. Izuku nodded, watching as Mr. Compress simply nodded along. It's game over for you, Shigaraki said from where he sat on the edge of the ex-villain pile. Everyone went silent at his words, waiting to hear what he had to say. Did you lose the game? I won, Izuku said honestly. But the game moves on. How are you liking the hospital? It's nice, he said, looking around. I missed my party, though. Himiko cooed, wrapping her arms around him. You love us! I know you do! He stiffened, but didn't pull away from her touch or try to use his quirk. That was an improvement. Is the lotion I made working? Izuku asked, and Shigaraki nodded. I have not itched as much. He looked over to Shiro, blinking slowly. Kurigiri, it's been a while since we have crossed paths. Shiro jumped, running his hands together. You recognize me? He asked softly, and Shigaraki nodded. I'm not him, you know. Not anymore. Shigaraki frowned, his brows furrowing. Do you still know how to make a drink? Shiro stared at him slightly before breaking out into a laugh. I do suppose I could try. That seems more like muscle memory. Darby huffed, crossing his arms as Jin leaned into his shoulder. That's what matters, old man. Think they'll let us sneak some booze in here? There is a miner right there, Shiro pointed out, and Himiko stuck her tongue out. Touché. Izuku watched them laugh and talk, nodding slightly. He could stay and say goodbye, but he didn't need to. Not to these. One's so used to leaving people. They knew better than anyone this was a needed thing. Instead, he left, floating through the walls and out into the night air as he looked around. He didn't even notice as he left this time. There was no falling, no darkness. There was only warmth that he hadn't felt in so long. Peace. His story had ended, and for the first time since he had stepped off the roof, he didn't wish he wasn't selfish. Instead, he thanked the world for giving him a chance to be selfless. Alrighty, my little learners, that is the end of this one. As I've been informed by the author, because somehow I forgot, Chapter 22, which is the epilogue, is the first chapter of the sequel to this, which is the 5-part epilogue. I will not be recording the 5-part epilogue, but I will be doing chapter 22, so you guys can, get a feel for the epilogue and see if you want to read it individually, because I will be linking it under the link to the normal fic next chapter, the chapter 22, which I will be doing. I can't believe we're almost at the end of this fic. It's been so long, actually. Jeez, it's been a long time. A lot of things have changed for me, in real life. Things have been going, I guess. But yeah. I don't know what else to say. But this is a little reminder that you might have something you need to do a check. I hope you will have a fantastic time, wherever and whenever you may be. Day, night, dusk, dawn, low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me Lovegood. And that was chapter 21 of Ghostly Bonds, titled I Love You So by the Walters, by KittyKqt on AO3. Again, the link to this fic will be in the pinned comment by me on this video, and tags are in the description as well as warnings. Bye, you little lunars.